How are you? I think we're live. Yes, we are. So, hello. I am so excited about this discussion today about gluten. We've been talking in the group a lot about this. The question has come up multiple times. It's one that I hear frequently. I would say at least once a day, oftentimes more. But the question is this: Is gluten bad for my thyroid? Now, there's a lot of talk about this in the media. You'll see it in magazines, it's all over social media about gluten being bad. And a lot of people say that's just a fad. I've heard that said a lot. I've heard them say that it's, funded by dollars, that it'll die out. It's just a diet craze. But today I want to explain to you why I don't believe any of that. I don't think it's a fad. I don't think it's a diet craze. I do think it's a legitimate problem that people with thyroid disease need to be aware of. So, before we can talk about gluten, we have to talk about the gut, which is my favorite topic. Now, our gut is basically a giant hose. Starts at our mouth, ends at our bum. And that hose is, well, the small intestines alone is 26 feet long. So it's almost like 40 something feet of hose. It's crazy. So it's the length of a semi truck. We're going to be talking about the small intestines mainly today. So imagine a giant garden hose that's 26 feet long, the size of a semi truck. Now zoom in, and inside of that hose, it is lined by the equivalent of shag carpeting. So you can imagine little furry carpet on the inside of the hose. That is where we absorb our nutrients. So zoom in even farther. Here's the carpet. So these little fingers are lining our digestive tract, and they are called villi. This is how we absorb our nutrition. Now, the crazy part about these villi, there is only one cell between this villi right here and the outside of the gut. Now, you've heard me say before, all disease begins in the gut. And that is because of that one tiny cell lining. So back to the hose. We have this giant hose that's only one cell thick. So it's a very delicate hose. And then outside of our digestive tract is where the bulk of our immune cells are produced. So 80% of the immune cells in the body are made there in the gut. Okay, we've got a potential problem here then. We've got a really weakly lined hose sitting right next to the place where we make our immune cells. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. So, here we are in the hose with the fingers, and these little fingers are protected by a layer of mucus. Fabulous. This is being generated every single second. That blows my mind. So our body's laying down this mucus layer to protect the little fingers because remember, there's only one cell between them and the outer world. So the mucus is intended to protect these from being damaged. And then every 3 days, we get a whole new lining to the gut. That's why the gut is so cool because it can regenerate so quickly. Okay, so we've got this mucus. Well, guess what? Thyroid disease is usually the end result of a lot of infections. So for many of us, it starts with a yeast infection in the gut. It could be mold, it could be bacteria. All of those things, specifically mold, what they do is they come and they eat away at that mucosal lining. So they're eating it up, they're tearing it away. And then guess what? We get a hole in our garden hose. So imagine that you have your garden hose right here. I come in here with a nail and I start poking holes. That's what the mold, the bacteria, the fungus, the viruses, that's what they're doing. So now we've got leaks. This is the term leaky gut that is so popular now. Okay, this is an issue because remember, your immune system sits right outside of that hose. So now we're leaking things out into the immune system. So imagine now we have a hole like this. And what that means is the food that we're eating will leak out into the bloodstream. That's not supposed to happen. The food is supposed to get digested small enough that it can go absorb through the fingers and go into the bloodstream. But when we have those holes, we end up getting things outside that belong inside. And this is where food becomes a problem. It doesn't even matter what kind of food it is. You could be eating the healthiest food in the world, but it doesn't belong outside of your gut. It belongs inside of it. So, gluten specifically is a big problem because it doesn't belong outside of the hose. It is supposed to stay inside your gut until it gets digested small enough. is absorbed and moves through the body. Now, the reason that gluten specifically is a problem is because of how the immune system reacts. So, our immune systems have one job. One job. It's to decide what is you and what is not you. So that's amazing because it keeps us alive. If we encounter a virus or a bacteria or a pathogen, it will say, "Oh, that's not Missy," and then it will kill it. Yay. Now when it kills it, it makes a little message and it says, "Okay, anything that looks like that in the future, I'm going to kill it." That's what we call antibodies. Fantastic. That's how we stay well. That's how we develop immunity. It's amazing. But sometimes it goes wrong. So let's use gluten for the example. Let's say that you have some sneaky infection in your gut. It's poked a hole here in these little fingers. And then you have a delicious loaf of hot French bread. Oh, I miss that the most. So you're eating your French bread. It's so hot, delicious, wonderful. It gets into your gut, gets digested, and we have a giant chunk of gluten that gets out of your gut and into the bloodstream. Well, your immune system goes, "Oh, that doesn't belong there. What is this? This isn't Missy. We got to kill it." So it starts producing antibodies to kill the gluten. Great. That's what it's supposed to do. Now, here's where the problem shows up. I got to show you a picture. The thyroid hormone is almost identical in image to gluten. So your immune system kills gluten, and then it turns around and it sees your thyroid hormone and it's like, "How did you get here? Ooh, you don't belong here." And then it starts to kill your thyroid hormone. So it's a case of mistaken identity, and it's your immune system doing the right thing for the wrong reason. So the simple solution to this is to take out the gluten. Remove the gluten while we can work on the whole, because the gluten isn't the problem. I hope you got that from what I'm saying. The gluten isn't the issue. It's the fact that it's escaping into the immune system. And your immune system is going to be fired and angry for as long as that hole exists. So finding number one, finding what's creating the hole is the problem, getting a protocol to reverse that, and then in that protocol, sealing up the leaks in the gut. That is where we find people, number one, lowering their antibodies, number two, feeling better, but sometimes being able to reintroduce gluten. And definitely with a lot of other foods, being able to tolerate those. So here is the image I wanted to show you because I think it is so good. It shows here how gluten, so this is your immune system, an antibody. You can see it looks like this Y. It attaches to whatever the offender is to take care of it. And you can see here gluten and the thyroid tissue are wearing the same party hat. Whoa. So the immune system is not that detailed that it's going to say, "Oh, but they don't have the same pants and shirt on." It's just going to say, "Oh, same hat, got to go. Same party hat, got to go." So gluten and the thyroid tissue, they look similar on that front. Casein is the protein in dairy, in cow products. You can see it's wearing the same party hat. So that's why I say oftentimes with thyroid disease, it is better to remove dairy, even if for the short term. It's only about half of thyroid cases that struggle with that, but it's worth removing it to see how you feel. And in like I was saying, it's not always forever. If we can find the cause of the leak, fix the leak, then oftentimes the foods can be tolerated again. So I hope this picture helps you see how the immune system doesn't differentiate. It's just trying to take care of the invader. And the invader, if it's wearing the same party hat, that invader is going to be eliminated. And that often will mean our thyroid tissue, which is where we develop all those problems. So, if you are not eating gluten free, I highly recommend you try it. If you have had your antibodies tested, watch your antibodies because they will fall. When my antibodies used to be in the hundreds, and I actually have celiac disease. So when that was diagnosed for me, I was around 21. And when I moved to a gluten free diet, number one, I felt so much better. My thyroid medicine started working infinitely better. I was able to lower my dose. And then those antibodies plummeted by hundreds of points. And I see this happen consistently with my clients. So try the gluten free. Know that it may not be permanent, but we have to figure out what's going on in your gut if we ever want to reverse that. So drop your questions below, comments, anything you want to add. Are you eating gluten free? Give me all the things, and I will talk to you soon.